welcome everyone to this webinar. We're very excited to have you here. This is the largest, most prestigious virtual pitch competition for high school students in the world. Our brand is that we are trying to help you understand that if you participate in this one, you are participating with the best in the world. And we hope you understand that. The competition is free, but beyond that, there are a whole host of benefits to you as students and as teachers or guidance counselors, depending on who's on the phone. You get access to the Blue Ocean mini course, which is going to be a more detailed version of what I'm going to be covering a little bit. It's global. You're competing with not only students in your school or in your state or in your county or even in your country, but around the world. It's convenient because it's virtual. We're going to ask you to submit a video pitch, which must be under 5 minutes. It can't be a series of PDFs. It can't be a Word document. And we need your source video. Please do not send us a YouTube link or some other thing, because we can't use that. We need your actual video pitch. And on when we go to when Z shows you some of the registration forms and submission forms and things, you'll see that the formats that we use are already listed for you. The rubric is published on the site, and Nestor will take you through that. And as Z said, you're going to get feedback from professional entrepreneurs. If you make the top 100 and you request it, we can provide what the judges have said about your presentation. Prizes are awarded to students, and prizes are awarded to schools for a variety of factors. One is for most participants, and the other one is for the schools who do who have the most students who do well in the competition. And at the end, you will get a certificate of completion, which I'll show you in a second. I already talked about the Blue Ocean mini course, but this is extremely valuable. It is a course that will teach you how to implement Blue Ocean strategy, and it doesn't take very, very long. And our students and our teachers and our counselors and our principals who have taken the course have given it very, very, very high marks. And as I said, you're going to get a certificate of participation. Everyone gets a certificate. If you've registered as a team, your teammates already have their emails in there. They will get a certificate of participation. If you make the top 100, the participation certificate will say you've made the top 100. If you make the top 25, it will say you made the top 25, the top 10, and of course the winners are treated specially as well. One word about registration, and Z, I don't know if you were going to cover this or not. Be very careful. When you register, make sure you make note of which email address you use, because when you submit, your submission email needs to be exactly the same as your registration email, because that's how we match your submission to you. Number two, be very careful when you register to make sure you don't make any errors in your email address. Every year we have students who are very careless with their email address, and then we end up not being able to participate, to find them. And then also be very careful if you're using your school's email address. Sometimes your schools block us from communicating with you. So if you haven't heard from us in the competition, that means that your school probably has blocked us, because we do have some regular communications that we do send out to all registrants and of course submissions. Now, this is all based on 2 books, Blue Ocean Strategy and Blue Ocean Shift. I actually use Blue Ocean Strategy in one of my entrepreneurial companies, and I turned a company that was doing rather poorly into a company that we ended up growing to $20 million and selling to Johnson & Johnson for $200 million, using the principles that I'm going to talk to you about today. And we ended up getting written up in the follow-on book, Blue Ocean Shift. These books are written by 2 world-renowned authors, Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne, and Blue Ocean Strategy and Shift have been recognized as the business books of the century by the Financial Times, and are constantly referred to by other publications around the world. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, one of the main reasons is blue ocean strategy is taught in over 2,000 colleges and universities around the world, including all the top business schools. I currently am a professor of entrepreneurship at the University of Michigan, where I teach 2 courses, and I have blue ocean strategy embedded in both of them. By participating in the course and learning blue ocean strategy, you are leapfrogging your potential classmates at colleges and universities, because you're going to know things that they don't know. And even more importantly, when you get into the business world, everyone is trying to implement blue ocean strategy. But candidly, most organizations don't have the tools or the knowledge for how to do it. And by doing this, you are gaining that knowledge. Now, differentiation in entrepreneurship is essential. You either differentiate or you die. But you need to differentiate with the value of your business, not with price. You never want to compete on price, because someone will always beat you on price. If you build a product and you sell it for a penny, somebody will have 3 products, one of which will compete with you, and they'll give that 3rd product away. You can never compete on price. You need to compete on the value that you are providing to your buyer. Now, here's the goal of blue ocean strategy. You're trying to build a strategy canvas. And we're going to talk more about this in just a second. These are the factors that you're going to compete on. And the red line is how the industry competes today, whatever industry you're going after. The blue line is how you would like them to compete. And notice there are things you're not going to do. There's things that you're going to reduce the importance of. There are things you're going to raise the importance of. And then there are things that you are going to create that no one does today. And all of these factors need to be communicated to your buyer in terms of not just the factors, but the value of those factors. This is how you tell a story to your buyer. The blue line is the red line is how you classically made decisions. The blue line is how you really should be making decisions. And when you find a buyer who agrees with the blue line rather than the red line, you have a valid customer. Now, blue ocean strategy is going to show you how strategy can shape the structure of an organization in an organization's favor, so that you can create a brand new market space, which I have done multiple times using blue ocean strategy. And I can assure you, as a 7-time CEO and entrepreneur, this works in the marketplace. Red ocean strategies you're competing in existing markets. You're trying to beat competitors. There's a set demand and everybody's fighting for that demand. And you're trying to make you're trying to figure out, do I want to sell value or do I want to sell cost? And everybody's aligned. Your whole business is aligned around that. Blue ocean strategy says something different. I'm going to create an uncontested market space and make competition irrelevant. I'm going to create and capture new demand, and I'm going to break that value cost trade-off, and I'm going to provide higher value. And at the same time, I might lower the cost at the same time. That does not necessarily mean that you pass that cost saving along to your buyer. It just might mean that you are increasing your own profitability. Classic example of that. There was a time when Amazon used third parties to deliver products to your door. Well, then Amazon said, I'm going to deliver products to your door using my own distribution system. Did the price of the products go down? No. Amazon kept that profit. So to break out of red oceans, companies have to get out of the boundaries that the way they think about, the way people think about markets. And they do that through looking at pain points. Pain points are aspects of a business or product or service that buyers are forced to put up with or find so inconvenient that they're willing to turn to an alternative. Now, as a strategist, and you all are going to be strategists, you need to not take industry conditions as a given, and you're going to try to reshape them in your favor. That's the blue line. Blue ocean strategists do not try to necessarily beat competitors, but they try to make competition irrelevant. We're going to give you an example, 2 examples of that. And blue ocean strategists focused on creating and capturing new demand, not fighting over existing customers. And they also pursued this differentiation and low cost, and they aim to break that trade-off. Now, remember, this is the goal. The strategy canvas is your ultimate goal. Now, if you're trying to eliminate things and reduce things and increase the importance of things and add things, you start with an ERRC grid. Which factors that the industry has long competed on should be eliminated? Those are the things you're not going to do anymore. Which factors should be reduced well below the industry standard? What factors should be raised well above the industry standard? And what are we going to create that's never been offered before? Let's give you an example. You all are probably either attended a Cirque du Soleil or know what Cirque du Soleil is. These were street performers, or basically people who used to compete in or used to participate in circuses. And this is a group in Montreal. And they decided to establish Cirque du Soleil, but rather than just come up with another circus, they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate the star performers. Nobody knows who the Flying Zambini brothers are anyway. No more animals in the show. People were worried about cruelty to animals and things like that. We're not selling popcorn in the aisles, and we're going to have multiple show arenas. We're not going to eliminate fun and humor and thrill and danger, but that's not the purpose of what we're doing. We're going to reduce those factors. We are going to raise the fact that we have a unique venue. We are going to create a theme for the show that we are producing. Za, humanity, love, whatever. We're putting this in a refined environment, like a theater in Las Vegas. We're going to have multiple productions, which we talked about, and we are adding artistic music and dance to these performers. So this is what the strategy canvas looks like for Cirque du Soleil as they were competing with traditional circuses, and how they've ended up not competing with traditional circuses and made them irrelevant. They got rid of the star performers, the animals, the aisle concessions, and the multiple shows. They reduced fun and humor and thrill and danger. They improved the idea of this unique venue. And then they created a theme, refined viewing environment, multiple productions, and artistic music and dance. They don't even compete with Ringling Brothers. They now compete with whatever is going on in Las Vegas right now. But these were circus performers who did this. This competition uses Blue Ocean strategy. What we have done is we have eliminated the in-person, the requirement that you do an in-person pitch to a group of people in your local high school. You can still do that if you want, but we don't do that in our competition. We've reduced the importance, but not eliminated the importance of the local presence. The reason why I say that is if you are a teacher, you'll find that many of our teachers and guidance counselors actually use the competition in their classroom, and they will have a local version of the Blue Ocean competition as they are submitting to our global competition. We've raised the importance of convenience. You don't have to go anywhere. It is a very high profile competition attached to these world-renowned authors and the business books of the century. There's easy classroom implementation. We offer tools both in YouTube and through the website so that you can implement this in your classroom if you are a teacher. We promote this very much through social media. We promote the winners through social media. And we've created this virtual event where students are participating in the actual development of the competition. It is global in nature. We focus on high school principals, guidance counselors, and teachers. We offer prize money for schools for participation. And we also offer prize money for the most likes that we get in our YouTube channel when we actually, because all of these videos get loaded into our YouTube channel, and we promote that very, very heavily. So this is what the student entrepreneur pitch competition looks like, and what our strategy campus looks like for that versus traditional on-site competition. Now, what I've done is I've talked about Red versus Blue Ocean. I've talked about the ERRC grid. I've talked about the strategy canvas. Now I'm going to show you the buyer utility map, 3 tiers of non-customers, and 6-path framework. Now, under the time constraints, I have to fly through this, but I want you to get exposed to the way that you would come up with the factors that are in your strategy canvas and on your ERRC grid, because there are some wonderful tools available as part of Blue Ocean strategy that you need to understand. The first is the buyer utility map, and it looks at how a buyer buys and uses and disposes of a product versus a bunch of factors. So you buy, let's say, a MacBook, it gets delivered, you open the packaging, you use the product, there are supplements, there are applications that you have. Apple maintains the product for you, and when you're done, you can ship the product back to Apple. They will give you a credit, and you can get a new one. So that's the 6 stages. Now you look at that through customer productivity, simplicity, convenient, risk, the image associated with that, and environmental friendliness. So this is a tool that will help you understand this matrix and how to think from the demand side rather than just from the supply or company side. And it's going to outline the levers that you need to understand how you can compete better. Now, here's what happens. In all cases, everybody says, use my product and we're going to improve your customer productivity. Candidly, that might be true, but it's boring and everybody says the same thing. There are other ways to convince your buyer that you are a better solution. Let's look at an electric fryer. Hopefully all of you know what an electric fryer is. It uses air rather than oil to fry your chicken wings or whatever it is that you want to make. And you could say, yeah, we can make an affordable electric fryer that has great use. But that industry did not do that. What they said is, look, you have to buy supplements and they're dangerous. And the cleanup is very, very difficult when you're using oil on an oil fryer. And it's hard to dispose of that oil. What do you do with it at the end? You don't put it down your drain. You can't put it in your garbage. What do you do with that? And it's dangerous to use in your house. And incidentally, your house smells like oil for days after you've made your chicken wings or your French fries. So you could see how you could then use this matrix to come up with other ideas for how you're going to provide that differentiation. Remember, differentiate or die. And this is how we do it in the Blue Ocean competition. Registration may not still be done through hot words, but we used to have it through text messaging hot words. Submissions are done online. Feedback from seasoned entrepreneurs, and it's easy to move to the next round. There's nothing for you to do. We move you from round to round based on the singular pitch that you've developed. You don't have to go anywhere. It's convenient. It's available where there are no competitions. Very often we have participants coming from countries or counties or cities where they don't have an alternative. There is no way for them to compete in a high school pitch competition. We promote this internationally on YouTube, and this is a very prestigious competition. When you tell your college, your university, your employer that you participated in the Blue Ocean competition, there's a 5-star competition as opposed to something else. So you get the idea of what that's like. Now, there's 3 tiers of non-customers as well. These are soon-to-be customers in the industry, people who don't really want to be there, people who are refusing to use the products in the existing industry, and then the unexploited people as well. So who sits on the edge of your industry? Who's consciously decided not to do this, to use products that you might be trying to replace, and who could benefit? Now, let me give you an example of that. Let's look at the credit card industry. Tier 1 would be a smaller mid-sized merchant that doesn't really want to take credit cards or debit cards for payment because it's too much of a hassle. Then there are brand new businesses or micro businesses. I'm an independent consultant now. I sell my time to early stage companies. I'm not taking a credit card for that. Or individuals who do not accept credit cards at all. And then there are individuals who need to make payments to other individuals for various services or things that they do. Maybe somebody bought concert tickets and one person bought the tickets and everybody else needs to reimburse them. You know who I'm talking about? Of course, it's Venmo. So Venmo actually used the 3 tiers of non-customers to produce what they have as a brand new potential market opportunity. We do the same thing in the Blue Ocean competition. There are tier 1 or upperclassmen who have competed in local competitions last year and said, you know what, I don't do that anymore. I want to compete someplace different. There are individuals who don't want to stand up in front of a group and present, who would rather do a recording, or who would prefer to do something like that, or who want to compete globally in a more prestigious competition. And then individuals who did not have access to local competitions and had never even thought about generating a pitch before. That's the tier 3. So we also use the 3 tiers of non-customers. Now, there's a concept called 6 paths to open a new value cost frontier. And why I say that is there are different ways that you could look at how you're going to compete. The first one is to look across alternative industries. Let me give you an example. Southwest Airlines does not look at Delta or did not look at Delta and American and all those other airlines when they built the business. They want to ask the question, why do people drive from Louisville, Kentucky to Indianapolis, Indiana, when they could fly? So basically, Southwest was not looking, when they built their strategy, at the classic industry of airlines. They were looking at the rental car industry or the driving industry, and came up with the idea of why drive when you can fly and get all the advantages of flying for the price of driving. You could look across strategic groups within your industry. The company that I was referring to earlier that we sold to Johnson & Johnson's called Health Media. We invented the idea of digital health coaching. Buyers were making decisions one of two ways. Either health plans and employers were either buying telephonic coaching services to coach their employees or members through health issues, or they were just simply throwing WebMD up on their website. Well, generic content doesn't do anything. The telephonic coaching actually does something, but was really expensive to deliver. What we did is we crossed both of those groups. We showed that we had the efficacy or the effectiveness of the health coach, even though we were using artificial intelligence to work with each individual person, at the cost of the website. So we were able to combine and cross those strategic groups. You could look across the chain of buyers. Now, we do that. We could go directly after students, and we do. But we also, as part of that decision, heavily rely on our teachers, our guidance counselors, and our principals to put these in the classroom. You could look across complementary products and services. There was a company in the UK that wanted to develop a new tea kettle. You can't get much more commodity than a tea kettle. They went into the homes of the people in the UK and they watched them make tea, and they noticed something very interesting. The first thing many people did is they scraped the lime scale off the top of the water and then made the tea. So they added the ability to do that into the tea kettle and became very, very successful. You can rethink the functional and emotional orientation of your industry. We used to buy our coffee at McDonald's. Now, many of us go to Starbucks to do that. Coffee is better, but it's the environment that you're in. It's the chairs, it's the music, it's the tables, it's the atmosphere. We used to buy our groceries at the grocery store, but now we also can go to Whole Foods because it's a very different emotional experience. And then you can participate by looking at industry trends that you can take advantage of. And no one historically has done that better than Netflix. Now, you folks probably aren't old enough to remember when you had to return videos to the video store, but some of us are that old. And Netflix was the first to recognize that broadband was going to take over the world, and you could rent your movies directly through broadband on your TV or through your computer or however you did it. And then they added content on top of that as well. So you can look at various ways and various methods for how you could implement your strategy by these 6 paths to open up that new value cost frontier. So remember to tell your story through the strategy canvas. And that strategy canvas, these competing factors, can be developed not simply through features, but through a lot of different things that you can think of. And I just wanted to give you a brief overview of that today.